Alan, let's get it started. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, March 8th, 2021. This is a municipal caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council, an effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities. The city of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16th, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council caucus will be held virtually as a video conference. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 4:03 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh will be joining us shortly. Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Robinson. Not here yet. Okay. Councilperson Lavaro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President will not be attending tonight, so Councilperson Rivera will be the Council President pro temp for this meeting and also for the actual City Council meeting on Wednesday. So we have 6 members in attendance at 4:03 p.m. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, March 5th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. to the mayor, council, business administrator, and the newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President Pro Temp Rivera, if I can just call upon you to defer to Resolution 21-207, it's item 10.28. It's a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Millennium Communication Group, Inc. for surveillance camera upgrades and expansion oh no, I'm sorry, not that one. I apologize. I'm sorry, it's for item 10.17, resolution 21-196. It's a resolution authorizing an agreement between the state of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Illegal Dumping Program Collaboration and Deterrence Project to utilize one loaned Q-Star surveillance camera and program training services, and authorizing risk management to issue a certificate of insurance. We do have Jake Hudnut here to discuss this resolution, and we wanted to defer to this because Jake does have another meeting that he has to attend tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Council President Pro Temp. Jake, you can take it away.
Thank you, Clerk. Thank you, Council President Pro Temp. This is a program that the city would like to enter into with the DEP as well as the Attorney General's office, which entails the state lending us a high-powered surveillance camera that would be used to deter illegal dumping. Also in the program would come 2 full days of training for inspectors. We're allowed to send 2 inspectors to the training, and we would be one of, I believe, 9 municipalities, actually one of 7 municipalities participating. We applied and we were accepted, and so I respectfully ask for the council's blessing to go forward with this program.
Any questions?
Jake, it's Councilman Lavaro. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Or good afternoon, rather. Do you have a list of sites that you're intending to use this technology, this camera?
Yeah, thank you. We sent them examples of illegal dumping, but it's going to be at the training that they tell us how the camera works. We don't know yet if it's mobile or stationary. I'll be honest with you, and I spoke to some other municipalities, they had the same confusion. We originally thought we were getting 7 cameras to 7 municipalities, but each municipality is getting 1 camera. I'm hoping we can do it mobilely so we can use multiple sites, but we sent them pictures of dumping on Pacific Avenue, Sip Avenue, Freeman Avenue, Broadway Avenue, St. Paul's Avenue, but If I can get this into all of your wards, of course I will.
Jake, how about Hoboken Avenue going down the hill and from C into E? That's a major dumping ground.
That's why I'm hoping this is mobile. We're going to go to the training. If you approve, we're going to get this camera, and I hope it's mobile like the ones that OEM has, so that I can hit as many locations for you all as possible.
And this technology, is this something that is cost prohibitive for like a municipality, but the state, or is it something that we could also acquire if we see good results with something like this?
This will come at zero cost to us. If it works, then I guess that's a conversation to be had, but this is being completely funded by the DEP. Yeah. And just for, it's Camden, Fairfield, Linden, Newark, Patterson, Salem, Caucus, Trenton, Vernon, Vineland, and Jersey City were accepted from the application process.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Who are the dates of training?
Okay, Sean.
I'm happy if any council person sends a request. We don't have our dates for training yet, but I'm happy to keep you updated because I do think it's an exciting collaboration with the state. I'd be happy to come back and talk about it if you'd like.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Council President Pro Temp, you want me to take it from the top?
Yes, sir. Take it from the top.
All righty. All right. Our first reading ordinances, item 3.1, City Ordinance 21-016, an ordinance establishing the rate of the annual levy collected for the Arts and Cultural Trust Fund to create funding sources for arts organizations in the city of Jersey City. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 21-017, an ordinance amending Chapter 188, Housing Accommodations and Affordable Housing Compliance. Are there any questions?
Yep. So this is a complete rewrite, correct?
Yes, councilpersons. This is Gigi, the director for the Division of Affordable Housing. It is an entire rewrite. Basically, because of the units that will be produced under the Inclusionary Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 187, that went into effect in January, and moving the city over to the Uniform Housing Affordability Control Standards, we need to revise Chapter 188 as is currently written to bring it into line with those UHEC standards. This will create a uniform and consistent affordable housing monitoring and compliance program. So this revision will replace the current Chapter 188 in its entirety with these UHEC standards. And what that means is it'll ensure that it's very prescriptive in terms of the breakdown of units between very low, low and moderate, and that, you know, we can provide housing for different family sizes because there's a requirement, very prescriptive requirement for the size of the units and what the kind of breakdown is. And that's on page 6, section 188-15, if you would like to see it. The ordinance will also ensure that all affordable housing agreements, all of them, not just those triggered with Chapter 187, are brought into line with the same standards, so that we're in essence treating all affordable units, all developers with the same standards and the same requirements. So that's pretty much the basic nuts and bolts of why we're doing this, you know, to create a uniform program for monitoring affordable housing units that are created that are municipally mandated. So with that, I'll open it up. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And Beth McManus is also here, who knows a lot more about UHEC, if you have deeper questions at this time.
Yeah, a request on my part. Could I get a copy of, since it's a complete replacement, of the original Chapter 188 ordinance? And then also a copy of the, if you have templates already available for the Affordable Housing Manual Has that, I don't recall, was that already authorized by the city council?
So we, no, as we were getting ready to put those forward, Chapter 187 kicked into high gear and was passed. And so those were set aside because we'll now have to rewrite them in their entirety. So they are not approved by the council to publish. But we do have sort of FAQs and affordable housing agreements that are standardized. But those are, as you suggested, Councilman, under the current Chapter 188, and I'm happy to send that along to you offline after this meeting.
If I could get the manual and the agreement, the affordable housing agreement templates or whatever's drafted at this point.
Certainly.
Thank you. There was, if you recall, in Chapter 187 and back in October, I had offered a number of amendments to the ordinance. Most of that, many of them were deferred or suggested by the administration as well as other members of the council that it should be incorporated into Chapter 188. I haven't had a chance to really kind of do a line by line, given it's an entire rewrite. Were many of those changes adopted that I had offered as amendments at that time, or and if so, can you outline which ones?
Beth, I believe that you have outlined some of them. I don't know that we've captured them all in their entirety. Beth and I went through it today and thought that we would elevate the ones that you would be most concerned with. So Beth, if you're on, do you want to walk the councilman through the ones that were of most concern during Chapter 187 discussions?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Some of the items that had been identified as part of the inclusionary housing ordinance included terms regarding the length of affordability controls, and that has been addressed in here consistent with UHAC. So right now, the ordinance provides for affordability controls of not less than 30 years and until as released by the municipality, giving Jersey City full control. You can find that on page 10 in section 188-15L1. We also provided standards in there requiring that the affordable housing units be integrated with the market rate units in the project. You can find that on page 6, section 188-15B. We also provided standards to ensure phasing of the affordable units to essentially require that the affordable units are built at the same time of the market rate units, so as they're not left for last or perhaps even worse, forgotten. That's on page 6 also, section 188-15. And then another term that I wanted to highlight is the ordinance requires affirmative marketing to ensure that the affordable units are properly advertised to qualified households and to qualified households in the region. You can find those provisions on page 8, section 188-15I. And the ordinance also has numerous other affordable housing standards requiring, for example, variety in units, unit sizes, variety in the incomes, and therefore the households that will be served. All while doing so in a manner that's consistent with the state's affordable housing rules set forth in UHAC.
Great. Thank you for describing that.
Sure.
Council President Pro Tem, may I continue, or do you have others I need to?
Does anybody have any other questions? I mean, do you want to, Councilman Navarro, do you want them to email that to you so you can read all these amendments, or you have any other questions?
No, she highlighted them. She highlighted them, and they're in the ordinance, so I can review it. It's more closely. I appreciate that. Can I bring your attention to 188-14, violations, defaults, and remedies? Going down to the very last sentence. It's talking about if there are violations, and it says if the developer does not reply or correct the violation within the time specified, the director may declare the developer in default and seek any remedy available to the city at law in a court of competent jurisdiction. So I want to ask and also just urge perhaps that we amend that language to, instead of the director may declare, just the director shall declare the developer in default. If there's a reason why there may be a reason not to declare them in default after they haven't corrected or replied, I'm certainly can elaborate on that, and explain that, but under those circumstances, it seems to me that they should be declared in default at that point. And then if somebody could, whether Beth or Gigi could talk about the remedies available to the city. I know it's kind of vaguely written that it'll be some sort of remedy, but what are our options to come up with something more specific, or what would be some of the options available to the city at that point?
Councilman, on page 13, there is section 188-18, and it elaborates much more specifically about enforcement, including enforcement actions of fining per day for any violation, eviction if necessary. For example, if someone has been fraudulently producing paperwork, or if the developer is not housing income eligible tenants. There, that section is quite long. It is pretty much the remainder of the end of the ordinance. So there's quite a few options that are written into this ordinance that are available for this division to use as an enforcement mechanism before we even have to go into default and a court of law. And I will defer to the law department to talk about anything deeper or more granular about that. Beth, did you have anything else? Is that correct?
Gigi, I support your comments. I don't have anything further to add.
Thank you.
With regard to the first portion of that statement that was written in the difference between shall and may, I know that's always a legal ease kind of language issue and contention, but my understanding is that may is less restrictive, and that shall is would provide more restrictions as to what their course of action should be at that point. Is there a reason why we wouldn't just declare them in default?
I would want to, not being a lawyer myself, I would want to confer with the law department about that and what the ramifications of making it more restrictive, as you suggest, Councilman. I do also want to point out that with administrative actions, in particular, as they relate to housing, we don't want unintended consequences, such as displacement of persons who, through no fault of their own, may lose their housing because a developer is, facing an enforcement action on the part of the city. So I would want to review that very carefully with the law department, because that's the very last thing we want, is displacement. We're trying to hold developers accountable, make sure that they're administering their units accordingly and as prescriptively as we say. But I think the last thing we want to do is force the city to get into a situation where someone will end up losing their housing. And I speak as someone who's seen that kind of thing go down, because the language is not able to be flexible. So again, that is something that I'll defer to the law department, and we can certainly get back to you on that.
I think in the 18, it says the municipality may file a court action in the Superior Court seeking a judgment, which would result in the termination of the owner's equity or other interest in the unit in the nature of a mortgage foreclosure. Any judgment shall be enforceable as if it were if the same were a judgment of default of the first purchase money mortgage, and shall constitute a lien against the low and moderate income unit. So I think, administratively, maybe it probably is best to leave the department in charge of giving them some leeway before they declare, default on the developer. But, it doesn't leave it out of the question. So there'd be other tools in the toolbox for them to use before they get to that step, which I think, would people living in that development.
But the difference between, so somebody clarify for that for me. So again, if I heard you correctly, you said use the word may. So giving them the flexibility, I understand that. But the difference between declaring someone in default versus possibly declaring them in default or leaving that option open, declaring a default doesn't restrict the enforcement actions that can ultimately still be taken. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then I'm happy to learn more about that. But it's you can declare somebody in default, and then they can seek to still what's the word, cure and find other ways to remedy the situation. They can negotiate that, and I would think that being in default would put more leverage in the hands of the city to be able to administer the law. But can the law department chime in on this as to what the, I assume that they wrote this?
Yeah, Councilman, I can. We'll certainly do a little more research on this, but about the shall versus may point. But I think Gigi's point is well taken, that it gives the director some flexibility in terms of declaring the default, when in fact the default may actually do consequences for the people that are living in the building, not necessarily the developer or the person overseeing it. And so I think the level of discretion afforded to a director under this ordinance is where direction we're going. And as you mentioned, the declaring of a default, there's still discretion even thereafter as to the mechanism of how to handle that default and what process under the remedies outline. So I don't know that. So we'll review it with Gigi and Beth, but I don't know that changing it from a may to a shall and not affording the director the discretion is actually going to have any substantive effect, given the fact that there's discretion as to how to handle a default once it is declared.
So could I just intervene here and just like the law department and Gigi, if you guys can follow up with Councilman Navarro specifically, and and see what he really wants, so that this is a first reading ordinance. We have a couple of weeks to engage in the structure. So at least if you could just address his concerns so that we can move on.
Certainly, I'm happy to go back with the law department and address it.
And then specifically with Councilman Navarro.
That's understood. Thank you, Council.
Okay. Well, I'm very good.
This is Councilman Solomon. Just a very quick question, Director. I read this in the ordinance. I just want to confirm. So anyone who signs this ordinance, the annual rent increase is restricted to the Northeast CPI housing increase with a max of 9%. I just want to confirm that I'm understanding that right.
Beth, I think that's a deeper way that it's done. There is an organization that does the calculations and puts out just in the same way that HUD does it. What you've described there is the formula that is used by the COA regions. Beth, correct me if I'm wrong on that. And what happens is that there are several advocacy organizations and folks that are sort of basically approved by the courts, and other municipalities use a chart, and it's the Affordable Housing Professionals New Jersey, and that is also written at the front of the ordinance. So I guess that language is in there very specifically so that if AHP&J stops releasing it on their own, we can then adopt the formula and know how to do it.
Yeah, that's correct. So all municipalities that are engaged in affordable housing in a way similar to what Jersey City has embarked upon with this ordinance, or maybe embarking upon, are utilizing these income limits that are published annually by that organization Gigi just mentioned, the Affordable Housing Professionals of New Jersey. And now we've also got some information about the methodology included in your ordinance, so that, as she said, if necessary, the city can do this on their own. But these income limits are the standard being used across New Jersey for affordable housing units that are being built.
Okay, so just to clarify, that makes sense. But what we're saying is these organizations do these calculations, but rent is not going to go up on an annual basis more than the sort of CPI annual increase.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's roughly CPI. It's not. It doesn't have an explicit cap like CPI or X%, something along those lines. But it does roughly follow CPI. So, for example, over the last at least decade, I can say the permitted rent increase, which is ultimately tied to the income increase, is, we're basing that based on just a few percent, if that.
Right. Okay. Because
with CPI.
Right. Okay, good. Because then I talked to the director about this. One of the challenges we've had with the affordable housing units built in the last couple of years is, AMI will go up 10% for the city 1 year. And so then the landlord will come and raise rent 10%, but, the tenant can't pay for a 10% rent increase. So it defeats the purpose of creating the affordable units and giving people stability.
Right. So any affordable unit, any household living in an affordable unit created through this ordinance or consistent with the ordinance, regardless of how it was created, they're going to be very much insulated from rent increases like that, because the income increase, which then translates to the rent increase, like I said, is going to fluctuate by maybe a couple percent. That's how it's been historically. So they won't be subject to such 10% increases.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, any other questions?
We can go on, Sean.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 3.3, City Ordinance 21-018, an ordinance authorizing the City of Jersey City to renew the leases of Block 389, lots 19 and 20, Block 3002, Lot 2, Block 5202, lots 28 and 29, and Block 1905, Lot 36, as part of the city's Adopt a Lot Community Garden Program. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Moving on, item 3.4, City Ordinance 21-019, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing and Stopping, Section 332-22, Parking Prohibited at all times, and supplementing Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for Street Cleaning Purposes, and supplementing Article 7, Metered Parking, Section 332-48.b, designation of parking spaces for parking regulation changes in the area between Hoboken City Line and 14th Street. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Item 3.5, City Ordinance 21-020, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to rescind the in need of redevelopment status from Webster Avenue redevelopment plan and to adopt the regulations as a regular zone in the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance as 345-40.2 R1W Webster Avenue Housing District. Any questions or comments on this particular ordinance? And before, if we have any questions or comments, for the record, I wanted to mark Councilperson Soleil present at 4:10 p.m. So we have 7 members at 4:10 p.m. present. Thank you.
Hi, Tanya, it's Rolando here. So just a question. So if this should rescind the redevelopment or area in need of redevelopment for this area, well, what does the zoning refer to at that point? That wasn't clear to me from the review.
So the only thing we're doing right now is actually just removing the redevelopment powers, and we're taking the zoning that was in the redevelopment plan and making it regular zoning. So putting it into 345, nothing is changing. And really the only thing that this does is it opens up sites to expand their projects if they want to, because you cannot apply for an expansion of a non-conforming use within a redevelopment plan. So this will give those applications that have been held up for a couple of years now, at least, the ability to go to the zoning board and to either, create additions or fix up their building. The goal really is that to amend this within the R1 amending process that we've been doing with the master plan. I'm sure that you guys know, but just let me repeat this, that we are probably looking at recommendations within the next 2 months. R1 is one of the zones that we are definitely going to be making some major recommendations to change. And we have been working with the neighborhood up here, specifically this area in the R1 and the Heights, to make pretty substantial changes, I think, to the R1, but this is not that. This is really just removing the redevelopment powers so that the applicants who have been trying to create additions or renovations can go ahead to the zoning board and do that.
I see.
Okay, Sean?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Tanya. Great. On to our second reading ordinances. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 21-013, an ordinance of the Jersey City, an ordinance of the City of Jersey City, amending Chapter 260 Rent Control 1, imposing a rent increase freeze on units subject to municipal regulation, excluding owner-occupied homes with 2 or 4 units of housing, and number 2, prohibiting any collection of a penalty for a late payment of rent as a result of the current public health emergency declared by the governor. Any questions or comments on this second reading ordinance?
Yeah, well, is the 20-day waiver already added, or
So
we'll get it by Wednesday?
The 20-day is there. I just have to number it. I was trying to do that as we're conducting the caucus. I will have it numbered and uploaded. It will be listed as a late item because it wasn't initially there on Friday when we published the agenda.
Okay. So just council, that's a resolution to waive the 20 days on this ordinance because it has to be effective March 15th to not have a break in the rent freeze.
I don't see why we're including 2 to 4 families. We already have the state rules on all this. It just doesn't make any sense. Now we're going down to 2 to 4 families. It's going to cause a lot of problems.
What was it previously? It was 2 to 4 or excluded or?
Excluded. I mean, now we're going down to 2 to 4 families. We have all these state regulations right now in place, and now we're adding all this.
I don't think if we made that, let me double check here.
I can clarify, right? So when the pandemic hit, we amended the rent freeze ordinance to include non-owner occupied 2 to 4 families.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
For the public health emergency only, which we've been pushing forward for every 3 years. So hopefully that kind of clarifies what's in the ordinance.
Yeah, but what happens after the pandemic? Are we going to that's going to be taken away, right?
I mean, yes. I mean, this ordinance says that it only lasts during the pandemic.
Or
no, actually, we amended it to, just to be clear, I think it was whichever was earlier, 6 months or the end of the state of emergency. Just to. Okay.
Okay, Sean?
Great. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 21-015, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank calendar year 2021, NJSA 40A:4-45.14. Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay. Right, we will conduct our public hearing on the 2021 Historic Downtown Special Improvement District on their budget and their assessment roll. We'll conduct that before we hold our public request for a hearing. We have, actually, we're going to have 4 speakers so far. Charlene Burke just was added. Yeah, I'm going to update the agenda as soon as I get a chance to do that. Petitions and communications, any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.19? Okay, we have no officer communications, no report of directors. We have our claims and addendum, which is attached. And on to our resolution. Okay, item 10.1, resolution 21-180. Is a resolution authorizing calendar year 2020 appropriation reserve transfers. Item.
I have a question. I'm sorry. So on this item, sorry, let me just open it up for myself here. John, can you explain, as I understand appropriation reserve transfers, this is done annually. It requires 2/3 of the vote of the council. Is that correct? And basically to cover like bills that were came in after kind of the year end, I guess. Is that accurate? And so we're appropriating the money or moving money around from the 2020 budget to be able to continue to pay for that out of the 2020 budget dollars. And we have a period in which to do that, 60 days, I think it is, or something like that, to appropriate the dollars.
That's right, Councilman. So when this occurs, there's two options there. You have the AT and the ART. AT is appropriation transfer. That was when you would do essentially year-end transfers in the last 2 months of the year. And then ART is appropriation reserve transfer, which occurs in the first 3 months of the following year. And this would be to cover any additional expenses or overages and salary and wage line items that were above the budget amount. So give you an idea, not that we have it here, but for salaries, if you were having an instance where you had a late year snowstorm and the overtime exceeded for the year, I don't believe we have any salary and wage line items. This is particularly for operating cost. Kyle's on the line too to discuss a few of them, but the largest one there, as you'll see, is the health benefit claims. So this is, we exceeded during COVID, we exceeded our budget for medical care claims, which some were CARES Act, some are not CARES Act eligible. So we did our best to try to get some of those dollars back. This is some of the overage that we saw there, and we will be pursuing FEMA claims for this amount. So essentially how that works is you have to pay the claim and then seek reimbursement from the federal government. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Additionally, what we do see most years is excess claims insurance, as we voted on in January, kind of that gap insurance for some of the higher yielding medical claims. We have not seen all of our reimbursements for that yet as well. So we're looking for some credits on that particular position, which would go right to fund balance, and any reappropriations from FEMA would also go back to the fund balance account. And we can keep the council advised as we go through that process.
So the big portion of it being that $4 million of employee group health insurance, that's everything you just discussed, or does that cover into different areas, what you just explained?
No, it's pretty much what we discussed. Rapid testing and those types of things were all kind of overages, if you will, for the year that were assessed by CARES Act and remitted back to us. But just overall, the overall liability, we saw more people go to the hospital directly instead of going to their urgent care providers. We saw additional tests being done and basically more people visiting doctors and being ill that maybe were not necessarily COVID related or reimbursable. So, but being that we are in a state of emergency and a health crisis, we are allowed to still say that due to the medical situation that we're dealing with, the health crisis that we're dealing with, and these are medical claims, that we could seek reimbursement through FEMA.
Is this, in plain English, basically the money that we didn't spend in the prior year is being transferred over to this year, or is this regarding expenditures or things that we might have line items that we didn't use, or that we did use and now we're paying for it this year?
Yeah, it all stays within the same year, Councilman. So it's overages from last year and then accounts that had excess dollars in them from last year. And legally, the only way to transfer money from one of those accounts to another account is through council action.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So can I ask about specific line items on this? So the operating expenses let me start at the low end and then kind of work the way up, if I may. City planning and law. I'm sorry. Yes. Is it city planning? I'm looking at sorry, at the 48,000 law and communications and technology. Can we explain the overages on the operations side of that?
I can answer those. Typically for the law department, those are some invoices that were just starting to.
Can anyone else hear that? I can't.
Good now? Move up.
No, you're very faint.
For the law department, it's mostly for outside counsel, and those are all invoices that we just, sometimes we receive invoices in January, February, March. So those are invoices that have rolled in the new year for services provided last year, as well as the HUDC accounts. Those are for professional services as well for, some of those board meetings and whatever other professional services that were rendered. Communications is specifically a balance due to Verizon for our communication lines. And the bigger ones are, obviously John already touched on the employee group health insurance account, and the other ones are DPW invoices for the months of December for Avid and for electricity and street lighting, as well as a December invoice for the HCIA, that tipping fee, which I could provide you the invoices for as well.
Okay. Can you provide me the invoices for everything from municipal street lighting up? I don't need the invoices for the smaller amounts.
Yep.
Just curious what those numbers are. The other things I wanted to ask for is, so the various accounts you're pulling from, there's quite a few. Could I get the, for each of those accounts, what the budgeted amount was in, these are 2020 numbers, right? These are 2020 accounts. So could I get the budgeted amount for 2020 and then kind of what the remaining balance was without this current expenditure? So if it's OSHA fire operating expenses, if there's currently $1 million and you're pulling 562,000 out of it, I'm looking for the $1 million. I already know what the 562,000 is, right? Yeah. And maybe that budget was originally 3 million. I'm just making these numbers up. I don't know it all, actually, right? So, so if I could get that for each of these codes, just to kind of see what those balances look like.
No problem. I can do that.
Great. I have no further questions.
Okay, Sean.
Very good. Just for everyone's information, I did update the agenda, so now you'll be able to see the late items 10.44 and 10.45. So if you want to refresh your agendas, you can do so. With that being said, next item is 10.2, Resolution 21-181 is a resolution authorizing an emergency temporary appropriation. Item 10.3, Resolution 21-182 is a resolution approving the corrective action plan for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2019. Item 10.4, Resolution 21-183.
Sorry, can I go back to 10.3?
Sure.
Could I get did you see my email about that, Sean? I don't know if you responded to me already. But
I did respond. I sent you the corrective action plan, and then I also attached the corrective action plan to the resolution as well.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
Yep.
Item 10.4, 21-183 is a resolution requesting approval of the Director of Division of Local Government Services to establish a dedicated trust by rider for the Arts Tax Trust. Item 10.5, Resolution 21-184 is a resolution authorizing the calendar year 2021 reserve for uncollected taxes to be calculated using a 3-year average. Item 10.
What's the reserve for uncollected taxes? Can someone just, for the record, clarify what that is?
Yeah, sure, Councilman. I'll address that. So in every given year, you have to budget a reserve for uncollected taxes, which essentially means that taxpayers pay their taxes, and then at the end of the year, we have an accelerated tax sale. And there's still a small percentage, very small, if I had to say, 1.5%, sometimes 1.8, around that number of delinquencies that don't come back in because there's a default or there's a few different reasons why they don't make the sale and the city retains them. So to make up the difference between a 100% tax collection, which is what we budget ourselves upon, and that the difference of what was actually received, we budget that amount. So sometimes on any given year, particularly like last year with a pandemic or an economic downturn, that number could increase to 2 or 3% versus the 1% or give or take 1.5%. So the state allows municipalities to use an average of 3 years, which essentially, shows what normal operations look like and factors in the downtick to kind of come up with a number that's a little bit more measurable and realistic moving forward. So that's kind of basically where it is. It's just the gap between taxes collected and 100% collections.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, item 10.6, resolution 21-185 is a resolution authorizing refunds due to overpayments for property tax accounts. Item 10.7, resolution 21-186 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of an error and omission complaint filed before the Tax Court of New Jersey on block 13002, lot 1.01, also known as 159 Morgan Street, Jersey City. Item 10.8.
I have a couple of questions on that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So on 10.7, the reduction here is, I don't have it directly in front of me right now, but it's, I think it was like the assessed value was 82 million and it went down to some 20 some million. Is someone here that can answer questions on that and how that occurred? I think it was a loss of $1 million in taxes, or approximately a little over 900,000. Or credit would be coming to the taxpayer.
Councilman, if you don't mind, if we could defer and I'll see if Ed's available, we can come back to it. He's just not on the call right now, but I believe he might be in the building.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
We can talk about that. Thanks.
Okay. Item 10.8, resolution 21-187 is a resolution adopting and ratifying the 2021-2022 budget of the Historic Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Item 10.9.
Anyone here for that?
Yes, there is.
Is anyone here for the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Rachel is here.
Just quick question is just any major changes to the budget from previous year?
Rachel? She was on the call. Let me see if I can get her back.
If not, that's fine. I can talk to Rachel offline. So.
Yep, she was here earlier in the meeting, Councilman.
It's okay. I'll talk to Rachel offline. It's fine.
Okay. Item 10.8, resolution 21-187 is a resolution adopting and ratifying the 21-2022 budget. And we also have 10.9 is the resolution accepting the assessment role of the Historic Downtown Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City, which is resolution 21-188. 10.10, resolution 21-189. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to accept a gift from Jeanette Staloff. Item 10.11, resolution 21-190 is a resolution recognizing Women's History Month. Thank you for all your hardworking women that are on the council, that work for the city, that work in general, and all the members of the public. You guys rock. Without you, us men wouldn't exist. Item 10.12, resolution 21-191 is a resolution appointing Rizwan Barkish, custodian of the Petty Cash Fund of the Department of Administration, Division of Engineering, Traffic and Transportation. Item 10.13, resolution 21-192 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property known as 21 Orient Avenue. Item 10.14, Resolution 21-193. It's a resolution recommending Home Investment Partnership Program funds for Guard State Episcopal CDC for 512 Ocean Avenue. Item.
Question, and actually just for the two items, 14 and
Can I just
15.
read the other one into the record so we can,
Sure.
deal with them together? So the next one is item 10.15, Resolution 21-194. Is a resolution recommending Home Investment Partnership Program fund for Garden State Episcopal CDC for 89 Myrtle Avenue. Okay, Councilperson LaBarre.
Just these properties that Garden State is developing, which is great. Were they city-owned properties or publicly owned properties previously, or these have always been privately owned? Can anyone answer that for me or let me know?
You're on mute, Carmen. There you go.
I would have to look into that, but historically, it could have been a city-owned property, right, that was conveyed to the Redevelopment Authority, and then we conveyed it through community development funds, but I can get back into you. I don't think we have it readily available.
If you could let me know that as a fact. And then the last thing was just, I forget which development was the rental, the other one's on home ownership opportunity. For the rental property, is that Garden State's going to be the one managing it, or is it, or is there another entity going to step into that role?
I would say Garden State.
Okay. So, no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Item 10.16, Resolution 21-195. A resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell various vehicles at public auction. Item 10.17, Resolution 21-196 was touched on earlier by Jay Cudnut. Item 10.18, Resolution 21-197 is a resolution recommending Affordable Housing Trust Funds and 95-5, recapture funds for the Fairmont Hotel, URA 2595 Kennedy Boulevard, Fairmont Hotel.
A couple of questions here, and I guess they probably should apply to the Garden State development as well. But in this case, is the ownership and management is this privately owned properties or housing authority or?
Hold on, I'm back. So it's privately. So Fairmont Hotel developers approached the division about preserving these units, and so it's privately managed.
I see. In terms of administering the affordable housing guidelines, I'm assuming would this development, along with the Garden State ones, they'd have, given our rules in Chapter 188, they'll have to comply and do something in accordance with. Do those rules will apply to these developments as well in terms of affordable housing agreements and affirmative marketing type of requirements and so forth? Someone can just elaborate on that.
Yep. So as a reminder, when it comes to HUD funding and federal sources, or even when we arrange a capital stack with development deals, the most restricted rule will apply. On compliance and monitoring and so on and so forth. But in regards to Chapter 188 and working closely with the division and within the department, we will be reviewing that. I'm also part of the review team when it comes to other municipally mandated affordable housing agreements, but this particular compliance would be governed by the most restricted source. And in this case, for Fairmont, it's community development funding, but let's just say if there was another funding or something else, we would look up and apply according to those rules.
So you kind of broke up in and out there. So does Chapter 188 apply, and does
not for Fairmont and not for the Garden State deal. When it comes to development deals and the funding source, the most restricted funding source would apply. So this is not municipally mandated affordable housing. This is affordable housing that is funded by the community development block grant programs. So HUD, the HUD compliance and monitoring and guidance would apply.
And so how does that work with regard to the application process and is it possible to impose any sort of Jersey City preferences on that? I don't know how that those work for this particular development.
Are you asking about the application process for this specific job? So again, who's that? Gigi?
Sorry, this is Councilwoman Panzeri. I think my screen is frozen, but Carmen, if I understand that, Fairmont is it's predominantly senior housing currently, correct? Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so understanding when it comes to the any type of affordable housing development, right? We're going to look at the funding source and the most restricted rules that would apply. So with the example of Fairmont, it's not a municipally funded project, right? It's governed by the funding sources that are in that project. So monitoring compliance would have to adhere to the HUD rules. I think when it gets, we haven't had a project yet that it would have or it would trigger. So we would look at UHAC, which is what the city has adopted, and we would look at HUD. And between the two, we would coordinate the compliance aspects of the project.
Is Gigi still on?
Yes, I am here. I am here, Councilman.
Okay.
Yes, so as Carmen has stated, typically it is the most restrictive funding source, and I point you to funding source as the critical component there. Many of the programs that are in my division of affordable housing are those programs that have created units as a result of a redevelopment plan that was written to require affordable housing, or something triggering Chapter 187 now that that's passed, in which case those are unfunded. So funding is usually has more restrictive rules, so we will go with whatever the most restrictive rule and the funding. In many cases, the developers need to and must comply with the compliance of their funding, or they will lose said funding. So in some cases, I won't be able to impose Chapter 188, and UHAC is very prescriptive, and it is you take all of UHAC or you take none of UHAC. It's not a sort of a pick and choose. You can't mix and match with HUD. So if there's funding, you have to comply with the funding so that funding is not pulled. And that Carmen and I already know that we'll be working together just to make sure that we provide clarity for the public, for developers, for you all as to how this is going to work. But most of my projects are actually unfunded. So any funding would be more restrictive because as a requirement to keep that funding, they must comply with those rules.
So given the sources of funding here for these improvements, that'll come with Fairmont Hotel. In terms of the marketing and the if there are vacancies there, and in terms of who they can market to, are the Chapter 188 is the Chapter 188 requirements or any requirements outside of Chapter 188 or for whatever is guiding it in doing that? Is there the ability to ensure that there's a Jersey City preference? Is what I'm trying to get at. So, like Garden State has figured out in some of their development, I don't know if it's across the board. I know that they've talked about the idea that they do have Jersey City preference, right? So, I mean, look, I think at Fairmont, I mean, I don't know. I can't say this for certain. I didn't check it out, but I'm guessing a lot of the folks there were from Jersey City and stay there and have been there for a long time and have come from Jersey City's neighborhoods and communities. But I'm just trying to ascertain and make sure that that we have some sort of guarantees around that.
So, as the director and steward of federal funds, I have to say that if the city has preferences, I probably would work that out with the Division of Affordable Housing, whereas community development and the funds that it disperses would have to adhere to the fair marketing guidelines that we are governed by. Right? So HUD always sets forth that criteria that my division would have to adhere to. I understand the Jersey City preference, understand that these are federal sources and we would have to adhere to the fair marketing principles, fair marketing guidance when it comes to these properties.
Okay.
Okay, Sean.
Alrighty, item 10.19, resolution 21-198. It's a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the Hudson County Department of Health and Human Services Area Agency on Aging.
Yeah, this is our grant that allows us to manage our Meals on Wheels. Once you accept this grant, we can reach out to contractors to continue our online Zoom classes, recreation, etc. As you're seeing in this grant, it's not nearly the funding necessary to cover the grand increase of the Meals on Wheels efforts, but I wanted to make you aware that we may, if COVID and or FEMA do not cover Meals on Wheels, we will have to coordinate with either the council or the Division of Community Development to cover the increase of that. So the grant only covers up to 75% of Meals on Wheels, congregate meals, recreation, and our, bus services for seniors, etc. And what we're seeing right now is a steady increase in need, and we're going to have to fill the gap.
Any questions?
Well, thanks, Stacy Flanagan, Director Flanagan, for all that she does. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sean.
Item 10.20, resolution 21-199. It's a resolution authorizing the appointment custodian of the petty cash funds for the Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah, as you all know, Margaret DeVico has been towing the line here since our fiscal officer left in November. She's been promoted to senior fiscal officer here in our department, and we'd like her to be the custodian of the petty cash.
Okay. Item 10.21, resolution 21-200. The resolution ratifying the award of an emergency contract to MedScreen Laboratories to provide COVID-19 testing to residents of Jersey City.
This is a new lab that reached out to us that would like an MOU set in place in order to provide additional COVID testing. I believe they're working with the Division of Community Health and Wellness to seek out where the community has asked us to add more testing so that we can ensure that many hours of the day we have different locations covered.
So this is a new vendor?
Yep. So we have about 20 different testing locations. Some vendors ask for an actual MOU. This one is one of the vendors to have it sort of on record. The others really just ask for a parking spot. So we identify a parking spot, we vet the organization, and then we let them do business.
Okay. Unless the resolution changed since I first looked at it, I didn't see an account number on that.
Because it's free, we're not paying them.
Oh, it's free. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
While I'm here, and am I able to do 10.40 because I have 3 other meetings this evening, and I just want to try to.
It's so funny, Director Flanagan. I was just going to ask you if you had any more. So we're going to move to, if it's okay with Council President Pro Temp Rivera, we'll defer to item 10.40, Resolution 21-219.
That's good.
Thank you, sir. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to accept a grant from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority for the Sustain and Serve Food Assistance Program.
So this is really exciting. We are the only municipality in the state to receive a grant from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Typically, these go to nonprofit organizations, but we've been working diligently, I think, as you know, since March of last year to provide food to people who have been impacted by COVID. We've invested nearly $500,000 thus far. About half of that in local restaurants and the other half with like a local agency that can do deliveries with us. And this particular grant is allowing us to invest another $100,000 directly into our restaurant community to feed more people impacted by COVID. So it's really exciting. We met with, the Jersey City Restaurant Association last week and several other of the restaurants that aren't affiliated that have been, have joined us over time. We have 10 weeks to spend $100,000, so we know that that'll be a great investment. And given our work, they've asked us to help lead some policy efforts with them to see how they can do this more broadly across the state.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Director Flanagan. Alrighty. On to item 10.22, Resolution 21-201 is a resolution ratifying the award of an emergency contract to Continental Hardware for the purchase and delivery of bathroom items for City Hall basement due to COVID-19 for the Department of Administration Division of Architecture.
I had asked some questions unrelated to this resolution related to the basement improvements. I think I directed it to John. John, did you get those questions previously? And
yeah, Councilman, I'll circle back and we could discuss the information that you requested.
Okay.
I'll be sure to get you.
And then if I could just get for the capital account for this and the year that capital budget account was established, or ordinance, or whatever the easiest thing is to reference there.
And I'll get you the balance on that as well.
If you can give me what was originally budgeted and what the balance is at this
Sure,
point.
absolutely. Thank you.
And I think I made that request for all capital accounts at the last meeting or the meeting prior for capital accounts. Is that something you can put together?
Yeah, it's something we're putting together. It's a little bit of a manual process, but we are working on it for you, Councilman.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, item 10.23, Resolution 21-202 is a resolution authorizing the award of a professional service contract to Goldstein Partnership in connection with the architectural and engineering services for Pershing Field Pool, natatorium roof replacement, project number 2021-002 for the Department of Administration, Division of Architecture.
Could I just get the same thing here for the capital accounts involved here, John?
Yep, absolutely, Councilman. And just a quick overview. I'm not sure if anybody from architecture is on here, but this is for the replacement of the repair and replacement of the roof for the Pershing Field. Oh, Brian Wells here.
I don't want to. You just said everything. Good evening, council members. The roof is in dire need of replacement. It's way overdue. It's at its extended life at this point. We did try to fix it, working closely with Recreation, but there are some structural issues, and there's a lot of corrosion on it. Just for the record, we did budget for this. I'm hoping it's enough, but it looks like we should have enough to put an all-new roof on to be fully functional for the city.
How long do you anticipate that the pool would be out of commission while they fix the roof?
I wish I had a crystal ball, but the objective would be to have the work completed while all the other city pools are available for use, not before and not after. So we have a very limited window we're aiming for right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Item 10.24, Resolution 21-203 is a resolution authorizing the award of professional service contract to Epic Management in connection with pre-construction and construction management services for the COVID-19 Memorial at Skyway Park, project number 2020-027 for the Department of Administration, Division of Architecture.
From what I read, there was no bidding involved in this. Can someone speak to that?
Yes, actually, I can, Councilman. I was working with ABA Corrado, Greg Corrado, and we're trying to expedite this. And Epic has performed admirably previously, and because we're trying to move forward as quickly as possible, because we're trying to move forward as quickly as possible with this project. And it should also be noted that the engineer of record also provided a price for construction administration, and it was more than twice what Epic is going to do the same exact work for.
Yeah, the name seemed familiar to me. So they've worked with us as doing this sort of construction management services for us, correct?
Yes, they have in the past. Yes, they have worked for us. Yes.
Are they the ones working on this basement?
No.
Could I get some information on which projects they were involved with previously? And so as
I can tell you right now, Municipal Services Complex. And the West District.
Okay.
Goes back a little ways.
That goes back a little ways.
Yes.
And so their job there is they represent us, right? And they're ensuring that the project is on schedule, within cost, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, absolutely.
And I forget what that term is called. It's like some sort of engineering to ensure kind of cost. Gosh, I can't remember the name. Freeholder O'Day, no.
They're going to be the owner's rep on the site, and they're also going to do the construction administration to make sure everything's being done in conjunction with all the requirements of the specifications, so that we can all agree that when the contractor needs to be paid, it's like a third party kind of being involved.
And it's your opinion that they've done good work? As I mean, my recollection of West District is it was off schedule, and it didn't and it came in overpriced. If I was correct,
there were some issues, but none were related directly to the construction management company. They were actually trying to keep things running so that we could get the doors opened up on time. I think that a lot of those issues you'll deal with the lowest bidder, lowest responsible bidder, and sometimes the lowest responsible bidder we have problems with. It's kind of goes hand in hand a lot of times, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Just John, if I can get the capital accounts on this, same as previous questions.
Yes, Councilman, confirm.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian. Item 10.25, Resolution 21-204 is a resolution authorizing a change order for a contract with Ken's Marine Services for salting and plowing for the Department of Public Works. Item 10.26.
Sorry, jumping in here. So the original contract was a 25,000 or so. That was from a period of November 2020 through November 2021. This is increasing that, and I'm assuming, but just seeking for clarification on the record here, for costs. I'm assuming the original 25,000 was insufficient given the amount of snowfall we've had this past winter. Can you confirm that? And if these monies are already basically spoken for, so we're basically just covering costs that have been incurred, or are they, or is this just giving us more money and giving us more resources in case something else comes forward?
That's correct, Councilman. In wake of some of the December, January inclement weather that we had, and not only inclement weather, but days where we had to go salt and without any actual accumulations, but rather just because it was below freezing and there was some wet surfaces, we had to go out and increase this contract to cover some of those costs that related to those storms. So this is increasing the account to fulfill prior obligations and then give us some room. But I'll give you the total of what is outstanding and then what room we have left in that contract.
Okay, great.
Alrighty, item 10.26, resolution 21-205. It's a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the execution of a grant agreement and acceptance of a grant award under the Consolidated Appropriations Act from the United States Department of the Treasury.
Hi. Someone else have a question? Is all of this for rental assistance and for the same program, or is it you looking at other uses as well?
I am here right now. It is all for rental assistance. This is from the Treasury, direct allocation to cities greater than populations of 200,000. We've received about 7.8 million. At this point in juncture of where we're at, we've not decided any other additional priorities. Peter's going crazy. In regards to the program, but at this point, I need to receipt in these funds so that we can get into phase 2. And so
this is welcome relief, I will say. That's good news for Jersey City.
Yep. A lot more to come too. You guys saw what happened in Washington.
Yep, Heroes Act got passed. We're all exhilarating.
Okay. Sean?
Okay, item 10.27, resolution 21-206, a resolution authorizing a contract with Benevate Inc., Neighborly Software for furnishing and delivering an account software subscription for the Department of Housing, Economic Development, Commerce, Division of Community Development.
So from what I saw, Carmen, this is a software for grants. Is that accurate? And I guess I would ask, my question is then, why do we need this, knowing that we also have like a grants consultant in place already?
So if you can recall, 8 years ago, I moved the division to take grant applications digital. We use the Zoom grant software. We have outgrown that software. So for over a year, actually like pre-COVID, we underwent upgrades and looked for better software for our, let's say, like nonprofit agencies or affordable housing developers to apply specifically for community development block grants. So it's separate to the grant process and everything else. It's actually replacing software that I already used. So
I see. Okay, so I misunderstood. I thought it was this is for software for us to use for people to apply and award grants to them.
Correct.
Okay, noted. Oh, just one thing. Page 47 of the document. That if you look at that, it says they filled it out for Irvington. If we could get that updated, it should be it's like a disclosure certification of some sort. I think it should be for Jersey City.
Yeah, I'll go back to Irvington to make sure that's correct. Division didn't do this resolution, but but it's for us.
And if you have anything to update on that, if there's a separate page or something you want to add, just let me know. You can just email it to me and I can update the resolution for you.
Okay, John.
Thank you. Okay, item 10.28, resolution 21-207 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Millennium Communication Group for surveillance camera upgrades and expansion project phase 5 for the closed circuit television cameras under the interlocal purchasing system for the Department of Public Safety, Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. I believe that Director Kearse sent all the council members a memo regarding this resolution. You should have that in your box. if you haven't reviewed it. If you have any questions on the resolution, pretty much he goes over the resolution itself in his memo.
I mean, are these, I haven't looked at this memo. Let me take a look at it. Never mind.
Right. Item 10.29, Resolution 21-208 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Coben Technologies for the purchase of bay docking stations through the Galveston Area Council Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. Item 10.30, Resolution 21-209. It's a resolution renewing a professional service agreement with the law firm of McManum, Scotland and Bromham to provide local land use council services for the 6th Street embankment settlement. Item 10.31, Resolution 21-210 is a resolution renewing a professional service agreement with Goldenberg, Mackler, Salang, Mitz, Pfeiffer, Bonchi, and Gill as special counsel to represent the city of Jersey City in various pending foreclosure matters. Was there someone asking a question?
Yeah. No, I was just saying it's Sayeg. The name was Sayeg. But I do have a question. The various foreclosure matters. Can someone speak to that? What foreclosure matters are we addressing?
Councilman, I can find out. Pardon me, sir. I can find out what there is pending and kind of get you an accounting of what is remaining out there. I don't know, as I sit here right now, exactly what there is. Nevertheless, we're renewing, and I will find out, and I'll let you know before Wednesday.
Right.
Okay, item 10.32, Resolution 21-211 is a resolution ratifying the renewal professional service agreement with the law firm of Whipple and Anzarello to represent the city of Jersey City. Jacob Hudnut, Chief Prosecutor of the City of Jersey City, and Mark Bunbury, former Director of Human Resources for the City of Jersey City, in the matter of Donovan Beezer versus the City of Jersey City.
Can someone speak to this about what the plaintiff is seeking here? And the reason I'm asking is we're renewing this contract, and now it's, if I don't have it in front of me again, but it's going from 75, I think, to 150, if my memory is correct on that. And just wondering what the plaintiff is seeking in terms of damages or.
Councilman, I can, that goes to specific litigation related matters. I can speak to you about that offline, give you an update on this. I know we have engaged with plaintiff's counsel on this. If there's not been a resolution, it means that the demand was not amenable or satisfactory to the city. And we are acting obviously with the best interest of the city in question here. But again, like I said, I'm happy to speak to you about this, and I'll let you know where this stands.
Sure. I mean, we could talk offline about this. I guess to my point is that, you know, if I have some understanding of the underlying case here, but if the remedy or the plaintiff's is seeking some back pay or something to that effect, I'm not sure is what the remedy is that's being sought, and unless we're looking to get back the legal fees here, we feel we're so justified in defending this lawsuit that you know, it could be more costly than the lawsuit itself, unless we're looking to get paid back for the spent money on the legal fees. It could be more costly than the whatever that it is that they're seeking. But I don't know what that is, but I can't imagine that it was. I mean, I guess I'm a little, just knowing kind of some of the background of this, that I'd be surprised that if they were seeking incredibly punitive damages of any sort in this manner. But So yes, I'll look forward to your response on this, but that's the general gist of my concern, and for the city council as well, to kind of look at that financially.
Okay.
Okay, item 10.33, resolution 21-212 is a resolution ratifying the award of a professional service agreement with Cleary, Jacoby, Alferi, Jacobs LLC to represent Mayor Stephen Fulop and the City of Jersey City in a matter of Athena O. Guerrero versus the City of Jersey City.
Was there a memo for some of these? This is a new one, correct?
This is a new case, yes.
Was there a memo given to us about the background in this case, or?
We generally don't provide memos for new litigation. However, you'll see the whereas clauses do provide a brief description of the matter. Councilman, I can send you a copy of the complaint, which more broadly details the allegations that are at play here.
Okay, if I could get that, and I know 35 is an ongoing matter, but if I could get the original or some background on that one as well, just to bring me back up to speed on what these matters are. And 36 as well, I'm sorry, yeah. Those three legal matters.
Okay, Sean.
Okay, item 10.34, resolution 21-213 is a resolution ratifying the award of professional service agreement with the law firm of Chasen, Lamparello, Mallon, and Capuzzo to represent police officer Morton Otundo in the matter of Sammy Fergarella versus the City of Jersey City. Item 10.35, resolution 21-214 is a resolution amending the professional service agreement with the law firm of Murphy Orlando to represent the City of Jersey City, the Jersey City Police Department, Edgar Martinez in the matter of John Votto and George Manuel versus the City of Jersey City. Item 10.36, resolution 21-215 is a resolution renewing professional service agreement with Kalkany and Kachevsky to represent Edward Toloza, tax assessor, Robert Kekaleski, former business administrator, Muhammad Akil, former chief of staff, and the City of Jersey City in the matter of Roxanne Mays versus the City of Jersey City.
I just have a comment on that, and I already said can get an update on that as well. And I don't know if other members of the council on this or any other matters would look for a closed session, but in this particular case, the legal fees have now amounted to over $350,000, right? So would like to get a better sense of like where this is and like what the plaintiff in this matter is seeking as a remedy and as part of their complaint. So I'll look forward to your report on that.
Okay, item 10.37, resolution 21-216 is a resolution of the City of Jersey City providing for an issue of general improvement bonds, authorizing the sale of $6,565,000 principal amount of general improvement bonds, taxable series 2021, authorizing an advertisement of notice of sale, authorizing the chief financial officer to sell and award bonds, determining the form and other details of the bonds, and authorizing other matters relating thereto. Item 10.38, resolution 21-217 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to CDW Government Inc. for a Cisco SmartNet Extended Service Agreement renewal for the Department of Public Safety Communications Technology Center through the Educational Service Commission of New Jersey, formerly Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission. Item 10.39, resolution 21-218 is a resolution authorizing an amendment to extend an agreement with Intrado to provide website hosting and support services for the Department of Administration, Division of Information Technology.
I'm sorry, before we move on, just going back to 10.38, John, can I get the contract, how much we've spent, how much was in the contract for the past each year for the past 3 years, and how much has been spent on that one?
Yes, Councilman.
Great. And then just turning to 10.39, to I assume Bernadette's here for that. Our recent website issues have been addressed with this provider. And we know what What happened there?
Actually, Stephanie Daniels has also joined us, and I'll defer to her about the specifics of what's going on with the contract.
Great.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, they have resolved their issues, and we are staying with them for now because while we are designing and going to implement a new website. That's not something that can happen overnight. That's a process, and it's going to take a good 6 to 8 months. As you know, the last one took several years. We're going to do it much quicker. But we do need to have a website in the meantime. So that's why we would like to extend the contract that we have with Entrado.
Okay.
Okay. Item 10.40, Resolution 21-219 is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to set a grant from the, we touched that on earlier with Stacy Flanagan. Sorry about that, Director Flanagan. Got marbles in my mouth today. Okay, item 10.41, Resolution 21-220. It's a resolution extending the term of John J. Metro as acting business administrator of the City of Jersey City.
Just a question about according to the resolution, a certain period of time, I guess 90 days, I think was the date, in order to extend this. The acting DPW director is still acting, correct? Greg Kears?
Yes, I believe so, Councilman. Yep.
So I think he was appointed.
I don't believe so. He is. I'm sorry.
So I think he was appointed earlier than you were, John, as an acting DPW director, and we haven't received a similar resolution. The City Council.
I know that the city code specifically mentions the business administrator for 90-day renewals, but I'll definitely work with the law department to make sure that we're in compliance with the DPW director as well.
Right.
Okay. Item 10.42, Resolution 21-221. It's a resolution ratifying the emergency contract award to Accusure LLC for insurance brokerage services for the provision of insurance brokerage and consulting services for the Department of Human Resource Division of Health Benefits.
Can John, can you just speak to Acrissure's services and as our broker, insurance broker on these matters? Like,
sure, Councilman. So they're kind of the for lack of better words, middleman between the city and the insurance brokerage agencies, and they review our claims. They make sure that there's no duplication of services or bills that the city has to pay. They make sure that the providers are in compliance with all of the agreed upon provisions pursuant to care needs, and that individuals, both retired and active employees, are being charged their appropriate co-pays and those types of instances. This ratifying emergency contract is essentially a 3-month extension. I believe, without speaking for HR, there is an RFQ out, or it's back, and there's a committee being presented. So whether it be Accusure or another vendor, in the near future, we'll be seeing an award.
So there was an RFQ, and we're expecting a new, not new, but we're expecting a decision, a recommendation from HR on. So this is kind of a temporary fill.
Correct. Gap. This is a 3-month extension until we have a permanent solution for that, Councilman, be it Accusure or whichever entity.
Okay. Since the bids have come back in, can we get a copy of the RFP that went out on that to see what was requested as part of that?
Yeah, absolutely, Councilman.
Great.
Okay, item 10.43, Resolution 21-222 is a resolution establishing the 2021 Open Space Recreation and Historic Preservation Trust tax rate. Okay, the late items on your agenda. Item 10.44, Resolution 21-223 is a resolution endorsing fair elections in the state of New Jersey.
This is Councilman Solomon. I can briefly say a little bit more here. What this resolution really calls for is an end to the line process that's used in our primary elections in all of New Jersey. And there was a study done in 2020 that suggested that simply the placement of the line could get a candidate up to 50% of the votes they needed to win. And we have not had in the entire state of New Jersey an incumbent state legislator lose an election when they've been given the line. And you put that together, and it basically means that our quote unquote, democratic processes in the state of New Jersey are not democratic. They're not what they should be. When in 49 other states, what they do is you're running for a state assembly, 5 people put their names in, and you get 5 names. You don't have this sort of system where there's a formal party line. Obviously, it doesn't apply to our elections. We're nonpartisan city council elections that are done, frankly, the right way, where there's a random draw to see who gets to go first, and people aren't lined up formally on a line. So that's what the resolution calls for. I appreciate your consideration and happy to answer any questions.
So James, I'm reading. I actually downloaded it, so I'm kind of reading it. So, question. So let me take the example out of Jersey City, and let's talk about the governor. So are we saying, isn't he like on the line? Isn't the governor on the line? It's like that's why I called you. I said it's a little confusing because, like, let's say if the governor's on the line, then who picked the governor to be there? Like, are we saying he shouldn't be the governor?
No, we're not. We're just saying it's literally talking about the design of the ballot. So the person who picks is, each county has a different system. Hudson County, formally the county party chair picks. So for Democrats, that's Amy DeGise. For Republicans, that's Jose Arango. And they basically pick and they decide. Other counties do it differently. They'll have a convention and the committee members will get to vote on who gets the endorsement. Of course, it doesn't say he shouldn't be the governor. In fact, there's nothing that says that county parties or political parties shouldn't support their favorite candidates and endorse candidates. What we're saying is that the design of the ballot basically creates an undemocratic system. So in this case, instead of Murphy being at the top of a whole ticket, you would see all the governor candidates next to each other. So it would be Murphy, whoever the Republican candidate is, anyone else who challenges for governor. And then all the Senate candidates would be in a sort of separate place, and all the House of Representative candidates in a separate place, and all the state legislative candidates. Not unlike the way we do it with our mayor and at-large council and then ward councils.
Because that was my next question. I said we're all Democrats here in this council, so we are all on the line.
Well, if we ran for Hudson County or state position, we would be on the line, but we're not on the line as city council members.
So James, just to you gave an example of a scenario that I think if I heard you correctly, it's November, but if it's a June primary, it wouldn't be like Murphy with Murphy in one line with the Republicans in another line. It'd be, how would that ballot kind of look in that regard? Yeah, so and I'm fine with this, by the way.
Sure. Let me actually give the example of the 2017 Democratic governor's primary. So Governor Murphy had the line in all 21 counties. So his name was sort of in the line column. Then you have a whole slate of candidates running down. What would be different is you'd have Governor Murphy in the Democratic governor's line, not in section, and then you'd have Jim Johnson, who was running, and John Wisniewski, who was running, and I think there were like 2 or 3 other candidates whose names I forget at this point. And they would have all be grouped together, as opposed to sometimes you'll see like Murphy over here, and then the other guys will be on the total other end of the ballot over here because they didn't formally get awarded the line.
Right.
And it, the study that it's referenced in the resolution, but the study really looked at how valuable the line is, and it's, depending on the election, it's 20, 30, 40, 50% of the vote. It's an extraordinary advantage, and in essence, renders the voting, to some degree irrelevant because the line provides such a great advantage to whoever gets it.
So when you mention here that, when you mention the party bosses pick the representatives, but these are elections, right?
I mean, people go vote, but when you're given such a great advantage because of the ballot design, it's not a fair election. That's the point. And so yes, it's an election, but can you call it a fair election?
I mean, New Jersey's not the only state in the entire country that does this.
It's my understanding we are now that we are the only state that has the formal party line on the ballot, and the other 49 states have removed it.
Does this? Who are we impacted by this among us? And because I'm guessing, does this have anything like to do with the elections in November?
Not for us, or it doesn't have anything to do with us as our elections. What I think it does have to do with is our constituents. So the reason it's been in the news and part of why it's coming is the situation with the 31st legislative district with Bayonne, where Assemblyman Charvelati has in essence been removed from the line, and a new candidate has been put in by Mayor Davis in Bayonne, and then formally picked by Chairwoman DeGise. And I don't know anything about the new person, but because the line exists, it's not a competitive election. The voters don't really get a choice. Just the mayor and the county party chair, in essence, pick who the representative is.
But he can still get reelected, right?
Sorry.
Like when you mention Nick Cervelati getting here, it says you mentioned he getting bumped by Jimmy Davis, but he's elected, right? So he can still get reelected.
Well, he could run again. The point is that because it's not a fair system, his odds of getting reelected are extremely, extremely low. And that's what in the resolution it references the study that was done. Not a single incumbent legislator lost over an entire decade if they had the line. And so, yes, could he run again? Sure, but he'd be running off the line, and it would be such a hard hurdle to overcome. It's not 0%, but it's extremely, extremely low. And this is either people who represent Jersey City, right? They represent a portion of most of actually the wards, except for I believe Ward D is the only ward that doesn't have any portion of the 31st legislative district in it. So it matters to our representation in the State House.
So this doesn't have anything to do with our election in November.
It does not. Nothing to do with our election in November. It is a call for the state to change the rules for the way they do primaries, which would apply to governor, U.S. Senate, U.S. representative, things like that.
Any other questions?
Is this true that they're going to kick him off the line, like the proverbial line?
It was announced today who the new sort of candidate who will get the line endorsement is.
I didn't see that. I'm very curious now. Who was that?
It's been reported by Hudson County View and the New Jersey Globe. I don't know the person's name off the top of my head.
I mean, personally, I'd like to, there's a lot of players here in this resolution that I feel, personally connected to. I know Nick Cervelati, he's a good man, and I think we should do a little more research before we pass this, because I think we should look at different proposals and get a little more research on this, because
we have a closed session.
I feel really close to this situation, and I've attended fundraisers for Cervelati, and it's I'd like to do some more reresearch on this situation.
Sure, I'm happy to send more details. And just to be clear, it's not an endorsement, obviously, of any candidate. It's just it's saying that the current system isn't a good system. It's a system that doesn't meet the standards of democracy that we should set. And to the point that Councilman Navarro made, I think we are the only state that does it at this point.
James, why don't we have a closed session and explain the whole thing and talk the whole thing out?
I don't think we need to close because it's not formal. But Councilman, what I'm happy to do is send folks some more information tomorrow. And if you have questions, reach back out to me and go from there.
because I'd like to know what other states are doing, and I know different ballots in different counties. You know, they don't do the line this way; they'll do the line this way, and then you know, I'd like. There's really only so many ways you can draw a ballot, right? So I'd like to see how, you know, other states do it. So we're not just saying abolish the line, but if there's a proposal for, you know, how a ballot would look like in the future, I think that's, you know, a solution to whatever problems being identified.
Sure, I'm happy to send over some versions. I think in Minnesota, they actually randomize the order for each separate ballot that gets printed, which creates, I think, the fairest system of all. But I'm happy to send over some options for folks. Yeah.
But again, council members, just a reminder, I mean, this is just a resolution that's urging the state legislators to make the changes. You guys don't have the authority to actual change, you know, the way the county draws up a ballot. So I just wanted to make sure that we're clear on that. And plus, the municipal election, as Councilman Solomon pointed out, we have a ballot position drawing for each position: mayor, council at large, and each ward council. And that is now moved to November. From the first municipal election that was held in November was the 2017 municipal election. So we'll have a ballot position drawing for each of those individual spots, and we go across, not down the line. And we've always done that, even when we had our elections in May.
Thank you, Clark. Yep, non-binding resolution.
There you go. All righty.
Okay.
Any other questions? So we move on to the last item?
Let's move on.
Okay. Item 10.45, Resolution 21-224. This is another late item. Resolution authorizing the waiver of the 20-day waiting period pursuant to NJSA 40:69A-181 for Ordinance 21-013, amending Chapter 260, rent control, imposing a rent increase freeze on units subject to municipal regulation, excluding owner-occupied homes with 2 to 4 units of housing, and prohibiting any collection of a penalty for a late payment of rent as a result of the current public health emergency declared by the governor. Any questions or comments on this resolution? So just keep in mind, council members, on items 10.44 and 45, I'm going to need a vote to add them to the agenda at the council meeting. With that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn at 5:50 p.m.?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Council President Pro Temp Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to adjourn at 5:50 p.m., all council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
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 We are out of here at 5:50 p.m. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public who are watching, and council members, Council President Pro Temp, the staff behind the scenes, thank you so much. And to all you women out there, keep up the great work that you do. This is your month, your day. Keep it up. Like I said before, if it wasn't for you women, us men wouldn't exist. So keep up the good work. And remember, when you're out and about, please remember to wear that mask, social distance yourself. We are getting close, but we're still in a battle of this pandemic. So let's keep doing what we're doing. Due diligence, Jersey City, let's lead the way. All right. And with that, be safe. Have a great night. Good night.
Good night.